Boy, where to even begin with this game? I've been very excited for this game for a long time now, and the launch of the game haven't been the best, nor the game's start and introduction for you. As you might have seen on Steam, it sits at mostly negative with 2,200 reviews. And I can't blame people, I have had so many issues with the game as well. But let's just start where the game starts you off, with the tutorial. The tutorial teaches you the basics, the small basics of this game. There is a ton of things to this game, so they start you off light. I mean, the tutorial is okay, I really have no issues with it in the grand scheme of things. Yes, you have a bit of jank and enemies act weird, but the tutorial is the least of my problems with the game. You at least get to see a lot of action at the end of the tutorial, and that's probably the most action you will see for 3 to 5 hours in the game, which is a real shame. After the tutorial, it's on to the first mission, and the game crashed for me 3 times here. The first mission is quite a long one. There is a lot they want to explain here and go through. There are also a ton of new systems that the game introduces you to. At 2 of my attempts, I made it 80% through the mission before it crashed. The thing is here, there are no checkpoints and you can't save, so you have to do the mission all over again, from the start. And the mission is long and drawn out. It's not the best one. So I just quit the game after 3 crashes. I wasn't having it. Today I came back to the game and saw that they had patched the game. Just love the patch note. Fixed some crash issues. That's the patch note. So I rebooted the game and tried again. And it hasn't crashed actually. It works now. So I've been spending around 5 hours in the game so far. And before we get into the rest of the issues in the game, I just want to talk about the good parts of the game. Because there are actually some parts that they are doing quite well. The game's main mode is called Tour Mode, and the final day of each tour, of each run, you'll have an extraction day. I will go more into the structure in a bit. The final day when you extract everything, all the loot you have collected, it's the best part of the game. Here you will have a ton of enemies attacking you. You have everything on the line, as all the loot you have collected literally could go up in smoke, or you will extract with everything. You get to prepare a bit before they attack, and switching between command mode where you have this top view and you can build things, and switching to the FPS mode where you actually run around and shooting. Works great, feels great, and it's actually a blast to play. And the FPS side of the game is really well done. Building your outpost at the base and managing your character and everything on the side, it's mostly okay as well. It works for the most part very well. However, there are a ton of systems in this game. So the game is built around what they call tour mode. Here you choose one of 4 difficulties and then you choose a mission. And from here you have a map with different points you can go to, and going to each point costs you energy. And when you're out of energy, you'll have your final extraction mission. So all these small missions, you mostly collect loot before the final extraction mission. And the final mission is where everything is on the line and a shit ton of enemies attack you. However, these small loot missions that you play before the final extraction mission, where you gather loot and gather materials, are so boring. There are so few enemies. They reuse the same map over and over again, and running around looting the same map with no action, it gets tiresome fast and it's just boring, and it really ruins the experience. Besides that, you have a ton of small things that bothers me. On their own, they might have been fine if there were like 1 or 2 of these smaller issues, but there are so many small ones and it gets tiresome when they all are happening all the time. So let me give you some examples. As you run around and loot, you have a backpack where you have everything. You can't sort the backpack. So you have to manually manage everything in the backpack to make space. And you constantly have to check what you have in your backpack because you don't know what everything is. The weird thing here is that at your main base, your main storage, you can sort. So the function is in the game, just not for the backpack. When you extract from a small loot mission, the loot just goes up into the air on 2 lines and disappear. If we look at the map, we can see that there are zip lines used to transport the loot that you have collected. But I mean, when you actually see it on a mission, it looks so bad and it's immersion breaking for sure. You really feel like you're playing a game at that point. And as I mentioned, they reuse maps quite often, but they also reuse assets on the map. So you can come across the same structure altered a tiny bit several times. I hate this kind of stuff, especially when the maps are quite small as well, at least in the beginning. As I've said, I have only 5 hours in. So maybe in 10 hours the maps are quite big and it isn't that big of an issue, but on these smaller maps it's annoying. And again, immersion breaking. On these smaller missions, enemies don't react to other enemies being attacked. So you can shoot an enemy and two can stand pretty close and they don't even react. Like, I'm fighting robots that are controlled by an AI. Shouldn't they be connected to one another, or at very least react to the sound of gunfire? After these loot missions, you get to select an incident reward, and you have these clear squares where the text is and the picture is, but you can only press the picture, you can't press the text. A very small annoyance, but it's still there. Building in command mode can be quite annoying. Like, it works for most of the time. So in command mode you can't place things in the air. That makes sense. But the game is so sensitive to the point that it's hard to place things if the ground isn't completely flat. Like, they need to adjust this a bit. It should be okay if the turret or the wall you're trying to place is a bit in the ground, because it's quite annoying not to be able to place things on the ground and the game complaining that it's in the air when it's not. When building your outpost in the base, that as well works for the most part fine. But when rotating things, they get kind of placed out of the center and they kind of bug out. And it is also a minor thing that is really annoying when it happens. It shouldn't be this hard just to rotate a piece to place it. When you're in the base, you can navigate to the different parts of the base. So if you press the hangar, for example, you can go into the hangar. But if I press the hangar, the camera kind of moves upwards and I can't see the bottom parts of the base. They're outside of the camera, so I can't click them. I can't even move the camera here. So I have to click another facility to change the camera, to then be able to click the facility at the far bottom. Just let me move the camera or something, or zoom out a bit. Quite annoying. In the game do explain a lot of things with tutorials, but there are so many things in the game that are not explained at all. Like, energy is such an important part of the game, but it's not explained how it's used or how it's obtained. You're just supposed to get it or figure it out. Very annoying. The voice acting for the most part is not that good. Like, there are a few voices that are fine and a few characters that are fine. I get that the game is from China, so the voices aren't gonna match up with the facial movements. This is a small company that made this game, it's an indie game. But then you have this echo placed on all the voices. Like, they're all talking in this giant, massive place.
It uses relatively small doses of biological
of Outpost weaponry. 11 is going to be packing some serious heat.
Thanks.
That's my partner and senior has arrived.
The MG turret is here. There'll be a great chance for you to learn a thing or two about
And a few characters are in those spaces where it would make sense, but not all of them. And certainly not when they're outside.
I haven't seen an outpost in action for ages. Takes me back to the time when I just made squad leader.
These are just a few of issues that I've run into, and yes, they're all small, but together it's a bit much. The game is sorely missing polish. They definitely released this game too soon, and they should have at least released it into early access. I love the ambition and the idea of the game. There are so much potential here. The final extraction mission on each run is amazing. I just wish that I hadn't been forced to spend more time running around looting on boring maps with zero action. I think this game is a lot more fun 10 hours in when you have a lot more parts to play around with and the endless mode is unlocked, but there are so many small things that should have been fixed before launch, and the looting part of the game really needs a rework. Thank you so much for watching. I just had to get this out of me. It bothers me too much. But have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.